Hey, what is up, mortals? Welcome to part 5 season 3 of What If Deku Had a Super Speed Quirk. I just wanted to greet you guys by just saying, sit back and relax, you're in for a treat. So, we begin. On the east side of the city, a man with dark green hair was running towards a building. The building had several scorch marks from the heat of an explosion. The first 2 floors of the building had been completely obliterated by the blast. From what night I could see, the only thing remaining on the first floor were 3 badly damaged exterior walls and several support columns on the verge of collapse. A powerful tremor shook the ground. As Sir Night-Eye tried to maintain his footing, a horrified expression appeared on his face. He watched helplessly as the building rapidly started to collapse in on itself. The dark green-haired man heard a sound he had hoped he would never hear. Night-Eye heard pleas for help getting cut off as debris started to crush some of the people trapped inside of the building. As the building finished collapsing, it sent a dust plume into the air. The sound of the people pleading for help stopped as the building made a thunderous impact with the ground. I was too late. All of those innocent people. I failed them. Sir Night-Eye sadly muttered to himself as everything around him fell eerily silent. I hope reinforcements arrive soon. These tremors are only making the situation worse, and they are occurring more frequently. As Night-Eye was running towards the collapsed building in an attempt to search for survivors, a portal formed near him. Kurogiri walked through the portal and quickly took in the situation while closing the portal behind him. The man with glowing yellow eyes walked over to the dark green-haired hero. Have the heroes identified the source of the tremors? Borealis and Lemillion successfully rescued the people they were able to find, Kurogiri politely said as he noticed a hand sticking out of the rubble. In order to help you with the rescue of anyone still trapped inside, I'm going to start warping away some of the rubble that's on top. The building collapsed just as I was getting here. If you're going to move the rubble, make sure to avoid destabilizing the remaining debris. Night-Eye grumbled in frustration as he began removing debris surrounding the hand. The only thing the heroes have been able to confirm is that the tremors are originating from the surface. Was there a sighting of a man with spiky hair who's roughly the same size as Mount Lady when she uses her quirk? Kurogiri asked in fear as he had a flashback to a conversation he had with All For One. A few heroes are investigating reports of someone who roughly fits that description, the pro hero said as he looked at Kurogiri. Is there a connection between the two? How would this affect the current situation? I believe there is. The man in question is a loyal follower of All For One. A villain by the name of Nine and Shigaraki tried to recruit Master's Doctor. However, he said he would only work with whoever proved themselves worthy by defeating this man, the glowing yellow-eyed man said, delivering terrible news. Both Shigaraki and Nine have repeatedly failed to defeat that man. The only other information I have about the man is that his name is Gigantomachia. He easily defeated the combined force that both Shigaraki and Nine had. His sheer size will make the situation worse. All For One entrusted the safety of his successor to Gigantomachia. His strength combined with his size will cause massive amounts of property damage and civilian deaths. As long as he doesn't enter the city, it shouldn't affect us too much. Does he have any weaknesses or limitations that you know of? The man with dark green hair grumbled in response. It would be safer to evacuate the citizens while we have the opportunity, Kurogiri suggested as he looked around. All right, let me see if we can. Night-Eye trailed off as he noticed that the hand was simply a severed arm. Sir Night-Eye let out a groan as he examined the situation. In an attempt to get more information on the situation, he changed the channel on his radio. The first thing he heard was that another series of explosions were occurring in the east. Several heroes got trapped in a building while they were trying to evacuate the people inside. Then several reports came in about critically injured or dead pro-heroes. Kurogiri carefully started to form portals under the rubble that was unstable. Once the debris was inside a portal, Kurogiri would open a second portal nearby slightly above the ground, and when the debris was deposited safely on the ground, he would repeat the process. On the south side of the city, Chisaki and Ito were finally entering the building after they defeated a clone of the woman they had been tracking. The front door of the building had been blown off from an explosion. Scorch marks covered the walls around the door. Several small fires were burning near the front door. The ceiling of the first floor had collapsed in the center of the lobby. That was annoying. We need to find her fast. At some point, one of her clones will destroy that wall I created. Chisaki growled in frustration as he looked at the wall of solid earth that formed a protective barrier around the door. I suggest we proceed cautiously. We can't afford to get caught in one of her explosions. You should check to see if the situation on the east side has improved. I can't believe she would just sacrifice her subordinates like that. Any idea where the real one is? Ida asked, hoping for some good news as he checked his radio. Hopefully the situation has improved enough that we can get some of assistance. The phone in Overhaul's left pocket buzzed as he received a text message. As Chisaki was pulling out his phone, the intercom in the building came to life. Ah, my favorite part about journalism. The ability to interview people and get first-hand information about the situation. Curious cheerfully said over the intercom. I can't wait to ask the members of the Yakuza what it feels like to be part of a dying breed. I also get to ask how a student of All Might took his death. The man wearing a plague mask checked the message on his phone. The message from the leader of the Yakuza said that the situation in the east of the city was deteriorating because of a series of tremors close to the city, and they appeared to be slowly getting closer to the city with each passing minute. At the end of the message, Uri's grandfather said that according to Shigaraki, the tremors were being caused by Gigantomachia. Any chance you receive good news on your end? At this point, Endeavor showing up would be a good thing, Overhaul said to Ada as he secretly hoped for some good news. My end just gave me some depressing news. Ada started listening to the conservations coming in over his radio. The first thing he heard was that the Dragon Hero was the closest one to the city. According to Hawks, Endeavor was still 30 minutes out. However, with that bit of good news, Hawks then said that the worst was yet to come. Ingenium paused as he considered the news. Just as Hawks finished his update, some of the other heroes asked him where Best Jeanist was. The only response Hawks could provide was that it was taking Best Jeanist longer than normal to get the supplies he needed. Hawks just arrived in the city. Several top-ranking heroes will be arriving shortly. However, according to Hawks, the worst is yet to come, the blue-haired boy numbly said as he tried to process what he had just heard. I can't imagine how the situation can get worse. After all, the explosions are still occurring around the city. According to the boss, someone named Gigantomachia is heading towards the city. Shigaraki claimed that he had once teamed up with another powerful villain to fight Gigantomachia and still lost. The man wearing the Plague Doctor mask said coldly. However, Shigaraki refused to say who he teamed up with. I think that Brat did it to protect his own ego. That's some interesting news. All for one's loyal servant and bodyguard. I can't wait to ask him who the next symbol of fear is, Curious said over the intercom as she continued to listen in on the conversation through the building intercom system. Why don't you answer the questions I asked you? How does it feel to be part of a dying breed of criminals? How does it feel to lose your teacher? Who is this person? Why does she keep asking us these questions? Ada asked Chisaki as he tried to figure out what their opponent was trying to do. It's like she's trying to get in our heads. Is there a way to figure out where she is? I think the best plan would be to head straight for the 3rd floor. The news agency she works for has the intercom system on the 3rd floor, Chisaki calmly said as he headed for the stairs. If you see anything suspicious, just call it out so we can get out of the stairwell. Just as the duo reached the stairs, the area behind them started to glow yellow. Without a moment of hesitation, both of them started running up the stairs. A few seconds later, the entire building shuddered from the explosion. Moments later, the building started shaking once again. Ingenium heard the horrifying chatter over the radio. Several heroes near the outskirts of the city noticed a massive dust cloud forming. Several heroes on the east side of the city commented that they thought they saw something move in the dust cloud. Everything started to fade away for Ada as he started to focus on capturing the villain so he could get back to saving lives. The blue-haired boy activated One for All unconsciously as he tried to figure out a way to catch the villain without touching her. As the pair reached the 3rd floor, the stairwell started to glow yellow. Realizing that the stairway was about to explode, Ingenium activated his original quirk, grabbed Overhaul and raced through the door and away from the stairwell to avoid the blast. Despite Chisaki's disgust with being touched, he permitted it to happen. Overhaul reached into the left pocket of his jacket to make sure the specially made darts were there. Soon after, the expected explosion caused the entire building to shudder. The stairwell had been destroyed, leaving the pair trapped on the 3rd floor with their opponent. The man wearing the plague mask tapped the provisionally licensed hero on the shoulder. Ada looked at the man he was carrying, stopped and set him down. Chisaki grimaced as he pointed toward a door. Before either of them could react, several people started to appear in the hallway, blocking their path. Both of them realized that they clearly had made the wrong assumption when they ignored the fact that she might have allies in the building. Ingenium charged forward and don't stop. I will clear the way for you, Overhaul calmly said as he placed his hands on the floor. I'm going to trap her subordinates while making sure that Curious doesn't escape. Remember, she's a news reporter who has no sense of danger if she thinks she can get a story. All right, just make sure they don't explode near me. Ingenium growled in frustration at having to catch a criminal instead of saving lives. I can't believe we are trapped in here with a crazy person when we should be out there saving people. I fully intend to make her pay for endangering my family. The Yakuza might be a dying breed of criminal, but the organization has already morphed into something that better fits society. The man wearing the Plague Doctor's mask growled menacingly. Remember, just run in a straight line. Don't change your direction. Ada simply nodded at his partner. Blue flames erupted out of the exhausts on his calves. White lightning started to come off him as he raced forward. A subtle shift in the floor underneath his feet told him that Chisaki was using his quirk. As a member of the Meta Liberation Army charged at the blue-haired boy, the floor suddenly shifted. 1 second the person was standing there, and the next second the tiled floor rose up and threw the person towards the ceiling. As Ingenium continued charging forward, Chisaki used his quirk to open a hole in the ceiling, allowing the person to pass through. Once the person had passed through the hole, Chisaki sealed it. The blue-haired boy started to grow impatient at the fact that he was fighting villains instead of saving people. For a brief moment, Ingenium thought he felt the presence of another person near him. However, a brief glance around revealed that nobody was there. Ingenium then noticed a strange sensation in his hands. At first, he didn't think anything of it, but then he thought he noticed something different with his arms. When Ida looked down, he noticed that there was something black on his arms instead of the silver arm guards he normally wore. As he was about to panic, he heard a voice that sounded like All Might's voice telling him to relax, that this was merely an aspect of One for All. The area around Ingenium started to change as Overhaul altered the layout of the floor. A man started to turn yellow as he was dropped to the second floor. A loud explosion soon followed as part of the floor on the third floor collapsed. Ever so slightly, Chisaki started to inch his way forward. Ada quickly arrived at a door labeled Internal Communications. Several people burst out of the room and tried to grab him. Everything about the people seemed normal until they started to glow yellow. Ingenium extended his right hand in front of him in an attempt to grab the closest person. At that moment, a black tendril of energy shot out from his right hand and wrapped around the person. Instinctively, Ada moved his arm to the right, and as he did so, the black tendril moved as well, knocking the other people against the wall. Then a black tendril shot out of his left arm and started to cover his entire body. Before Ada had a chance to react, the people exploded. Every bone in his legs threatened to break from the blasts. It was only then that Ingenium realized he was using One for All at 60%. He forced his body to bear a higher percentage of One for All than he was able to use safely so he could start saving the innocent people. From a distance, Overhaul watched in shock as the people surrounding Ingenium exploded. The flash of light briefly blinded him. Once the explosions ended, he looked with dread to see the severity of his partner's injuries. To his amazement, the boy emerged from the explosions unharmed. Just as Chisaki began moving forward, he felt a hand briefly grab his left shoulder. Without thinking, he reflexively touched the hand with his right hand. Chisaki activated his quirk to disassemble his attacker. Overhaul turned around and watched his attacker break apart almost instantly. Blood sprayed out of the person as the entire upper body suddenly disappeared. Several drops of blood landed on Overhaul's right hand and clothes. Disgusting. I can't believe someone would actually touch me. This is so unsanitary. Overhaul angrily growled as he tried to maintain his composure. Time to make sure someone can't attack my family again. Chisaki started walking over to Ada as the black tendrils slowly disappeared. The walls around the pair started to turn yellow. Overhaul placed his hand on the floor and activated his quirk. Several walls shot around the pair, protecting them from the powerful explosion. The blast knocked both of them to the floor. After the blast occurred, the duo could see several people standing next to Curious. In that moment, Ingenium activated Recipro Burst. The blue flames turned white as Ada sent a straight right kick into the chest of the closest person. Before her other subordinates could react, the floor beneath them started to change. Curious watched as her allies suddenly fell through a hole in the floor. Chisaki took out a gun and loaded it with a dart as the blue-haired boy attacked. Curious dropped to the ground in excruciating pain from Ingenium's blow. The floor around her slowly turned yellow as she activated her quirk. Ada tried to run from the room and to avoid the explosion. For a brief moment, Overhaul saw an opening and pulled the trigger. A strange dart shot out of the gun and hit the woman in the chest. I made it easier to apprehend the woman. Get over here so I can protect us from the blast, Chisaki calmly said as he put the gun away. I made sure she won't be able to continue attacking us. A black tendril shot out of Ada's left hand as he reached Overhaul. The black mass of energy wrapped around the woman and pulled her close to the pair. Chisaki used his quirk to create a hole in the floor, dropping the three of them to the floor below. Moments later, the building shuddered from the explosion on the third floor. The building started to groan as several support columns were destroyed on the third floor. Without thinking, Ada grabbed the woman and started running. Ingenium froze as he reached the stairs. He had been so distracted by his intent to capture the villain responsible for the explosions that he had forgotten that the stairs had been destroyed. Chisaki walked over to him calmly and placed his right hand on the wall. Suddenly, the hallway they were in started to change as Overhaul's quirk was activated. A path suddenly formed, allowing the pair to simply walk down a steep incline to get to the ground safely. What was in that dart you shot? I'm going to report in that we caught the villain behind the bombings, Ingenium said as he started to worry about his friends. Once we caught up to her, it was a pretty easy fight. The dart contained some of Iri's blood. The blood can only remove someone's quirk for one day, Chisaki calmly answered as he made sure to choose his next few words carefully. I started to create these darts so we could safely stop Iri when she lost control over her quirk. Thankfully, the effect is only temporary. Ada turned his radio to the channel that Night Eye had reserved for his agency. The duo walked down the ramp to the first floor and then exited the building. Soon after leaving the building, they felt a powerful tremor. A few of the support columns inside the building broke and the building started to collapse. Ada grabbed Chisaki and activated One for All at 20%. Ada then jumped out of the plaza as the building fell. Bari, you saved my life again. You helped us bring a powerful villain down, Overhaul softly muttered as he watched the building collapse. This was an annoyingly long bug hunt. Sir Night-Eye, Overhaul and I were able to apprehend the villain who was behind the city-wide bombings, Ida said proudly into his radio once the noise from the building collapsing died down. An entire city block was destroyed when we first encountered the villain's clone along with the building where the villain was caught. Well done, Ingenium. The situation in the east has deteriorated further. After you turn the villain over to the police, make your way to the east side where a massive villain is heading towards the city, Night-Eye ordered as he tried to sound grateful for Ada's success. The silver lining to all of this is the downpour is preventing the fires from spreading rapidly. Remember to have the civilians head to the west of the city. Yes, sir. How are Borealis and Lemillion doing, sir? Ingenium politely inquired as he started heading towards a police station. Has anyone besides Hawks arrived? Were you able to confirm what was causing the tremors in the east of the city? We just started noticing the tremors in the south. The building we were in collapsed because of the tremor. A massive villain named Gigantomachia is close to the city. With each passing moment the villain is getting closer, the pro-hero calmly said as informed Ida about the situation. Based on the preliminary information we've received, Gigantomachia was All for One's bodyguard. Aside from that, we don't know much about him. All for One gave the man several unknown quirks, and based on what we know about All for One, we can assume they are powerful quirks. Thank you for the information, sir. We are going to turn the villain over to the police, the provisionally licensed hero said as he looked at Overhaul. Overhaul and I will head over to the east as soon as we can. Hopefully, Endeavor can help improve the situation once he arrives in the city. I suggest we inform the police about the situation in the east. Hopefully the police can start evacuating this part of the city, Overhaul said respectfully as he followed. Endeavor should be able to improve the situation since he's the #1 hero. The problem is that a fight within the city will seriously hold him back because he won't be able to go all out if civilians are nearby. The duo made their way to the closest police station and transferred the villain to their custody, and then made their way to the east side of the city. As they got to the east side of the city, they saw a massive man walking towards the city. Both of them watched as tremors caused by the man started to cause buildings to topple. A few seconds later the pair heard the weak rumble of thunder. As the dust cleared, the duo saw Borealis running towards them carrying an injured civilian. The green-haired boy ran past the pair heading north. Izuku was carrying an injured person in his arms as he ran past the duo. As Ingenium started to run forward, the massive villain swung his left arm around his body. Within moments, the buildings on several city blocks around the villain were blasted away from the sheer force. Dust was blasted into the air as the debris from the buildings started hitting the ground. At the same time, cries for help filled the air. Hader ran towards the area that had just been attacked by Gigantomachia. As the blue-haired boy continued running forward, he noticed his friend racing past him. After getting medical attention for the victim he had been carrying, Izuku was racing back to help. He felt his body moving before he could even process the destruction that he had witnessed. Despite the dust getting into his eyes, Borealis ran towards the impacted area. He kept a smile on his face as he brushed the dust out of his eyes. The green-haired boy intended to show the people that he saved that everything would be all right. As he was running, he noticed Ida running next to him. Izuku noticed that his friend wasn't using his engine quirk, since the exhausts weren't emitting any flames. As they got closer to the affected area, the true horror revealed itself to them. Several heroes were crushed under the rubble. A large pool of blood started to form around the fallen heroes. As they got closer, they noticed that even Hawks was having difficulty saving people. Several of his red feathers were carrying people who had died from their injuries. Some of his other feathers were carrying seriously injured people. Kurogiri was standing near Night-Eye with several portals open so that the heroes could evacuate the injured. Thank you all for indulging yourselves in the story thus far. I hope you enjoyed it. Now, there are a few more things that I'd like to go over before the video ends. Firstly, we've got a second channel called Anime Deep Dive. Anime Deep Dive goes deep into the facts and lore of a wide variety of anime. It's sure to expand your web knowledge for all kinds of series guaranteed. On top of that, we have a third channel called We The Celestials Naruto What Ifs. It's what we do on this channel already, but in the vast world and lore of Naruto. Go check it out if you're in the mood for some jutsu action. Secondly, on behalf of We The Celestials, I'd like to thank everyone involved in the production of today's awesome content. Their details will be in the description below. Lastly, if you're interested in what we do here at We The Celestials, then I would like to extend out an invitation to join the team. The only caveat being we only accept members 16 years and up to join our crew. You can sign up for whichever category fulfills your interests by joining the recruitment Discord using the link in the description below. Our Discord is an all-around fantastic place to be. Whether you're a fan or looking to join our band of misfits, we're always looking for members to join us. Well, that's it from us for today's video. So, thank you all for watching, and have a great day.